Good to be with you on this Wednesday here of the week of the new year. Just a couple of days and we'll start into 2021. I trust you're having a great time with your family and friends, and it's a refreshing time. But this is also a challenging time for us, and I trust that we will take that challenge. I think of the long line of troubles that Christians have been through. And all throughout history you see it, beginning with the early church. And then, of course, even in 2021, you see it around the world. The persecution has increased greatly. And we need to realize that some of the greatest moments in Christianity comes at a time when it is dark, comes at a time when there is opposition. And frankly, I don't like the thought of it. I'm sure you don't like the thought of it, but we need to encourage ourselves that God knows what he's doing. And often we'll see him and his power in a greater way when we have to get on our face, seek God for the strength to be able to face whatever we face. I think of Peter and John there in that early church, how they were brought into the council and were threatened. And Peter makes that great statement in verse 29 of chapter 5. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey God rather than men." And then he goes into a very direct exposition of the gospel. He makes it very clear that they slew Jesus Christ upon the cross and that he rose from the grave, and that was the message that they were preaching. And it says that those men were cut to the heart, and God gave them an opportunity to come to him, and a number of them did. We find out a little bit later. Priests came to the Lord, and we thank God for that, but many, of course, turned on those early church fathers. And what I want to encourage us is to realize that we're going to be faced in these next years with, are we going to obey God, or are we going to fall under the pressure of men? May be with government or not government. It may be with just the pressure on our jobs. That's going to become a very big issue. Education may be a very big issue. And then, of course, our churches being able to operate as we ought to operate. And then personally, the pressure of peers all around us and a world that's going the wrong direction. Are we going to obey God rather than men? Aren't you glad that Peter and those apostles did obey God? You and I are here today because of their faith, because of their obedience. These men were willing to put Christ above everything else. And so here's what I want to finish out with as we're very close to the new year. You will not be able to take the stand that you need to take if Jesus doesn't mean everything to you. If you're just a Christian and you know things are true, but you have other loves in your life that are more important than Christ, you're going to be tempted to capitulate. But when you're walking with him and you're spending time and your heart is burning within you in love for your Savior, you're seeing God use you, and you realize the need of those that he loves all around you, then when the time comes that you have to face the issues of the pressures that are coming, you are going to be able to take that stand and be able to say, I'm going to obey God rather than man. Why? Because I love Jesus. He's my Savior. I am saved by him. He is the most important treasure in my life. I will not neglect him. So friends, let's just make it the desire of our heart to know Jesus, to know him and the power of his resurrection. And then we'll be able to weather anything. We have nothing to fear because we're in the line of all of these others to get out the gospel and to serve the Lord. May God give us that kind of heart.